not stand on ceremony, mate. Let's start the show.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Square Talk. I'm Lars with my co-host Ro, where we discuss the business of cannabis. We have a special guest today, Chef Wani of Zima 360 Wellness. Say hey if you're there.
Hey, how you doing?
We're gonna have a great conversation with her and learn more about the wellness industry as it relates to cannabis. But before we do that, why don't you go ahead and plug our sponsor?
Yes, folks, we are proud of our sponsorship from New Maroon Naturals. Please give them a visit at NEWMAROON Naturals.com. They are the purveyors of the finest Caribbean-based nutrition, roots drinks for men, women, and children, as well as sea moss in its gelatinous state. No more will you suffer the indignity of that powdered, dry, stank, funk sea moss that you get in those capsules. No more will you try to figure out a way to make it edible and appetizing. Folks, I want you to visit New Maroon Naturals' website and check out their 30-day sea moss challenge. The premise is 2 servings of sea moss a day for 30 days and watch a brand new you emerge. Please visit them at newmaroonnaturals.com and return to your natural state of health.
All right, and the link's in the description for anybody who forgets how to spell that. So you can just go ahead and click on the link, and it'll take you right to the website. So, Chef Wani.
Yes.
We met at Cannagather.
We did.
Was it a week ago, right?
Yeah, about a week ago, last Thursday.
Yeah, you had that booth with D-Rock of Extreme Terps.
Exactly. I use all Extreme Terps products.
Oh, nice. And you had some products of your own. Why don't you tell us about some of the ones, which I sampled, which I'll talk about, but I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us about what you had and what you do with Zima 360 Wellness.
Okay, so Zima 360 Wellness is the company I started. Zima actually means whole in Swahili.
Okay.
And basically that's what I focus on, like whole health. So mind, body, and soul. I also have a blog called Wani's World. And that with the blog, I kind of talk about, spiritual growth or whatever. But with Zima 360 Wellness, the focus is on nutrition, like body wellness. So I do CBD-infused meals and drinks and seasonings. I do specialized seasoning blends. But what you sampled at Cannagather has been one of my most popular products, and that is a pineapple ginger turmeric drink, which I call Recovery. And basically, I call it Recovery because I like to take it before I go to bed, like, after a long day or maybe after I work out. I drink it before I go to sleep and wake up refreshed because the CBD in it, basically, in every other ingredient in it is an anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just helps relax me and, have me be refreshed the next morning. And I also, because I'm diabetic, I make the drink with mostly monk fruit sugar.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a 80-20 monk fruit sugar and a little bit of cane sugar. But I did that to try to make it more diabetic friendly for other people like myself who need the pain relief but can't really take all that sugar.
Mm.
So that is, what I'm into. And I like to do a healthy take on Caribbean style foods. My background is Trinidadian. So a lot of the foods that I cook, I use fresh herbs. And like I said, I make my own seasonings. And I cook pretty healthy. So, with the substituting carbs for like cauliflower, I do a great cauliflower rice pilaf. Just different things that I was trying to just enhance the edibles landscape with more Caribbean-based or African-based foods. Like I didn't see a lot of things that reflected my culture in the edibles realm that were also healthy. So, that's pretty much, I figured, let me jump in where I fit in. And I also do a drink called Sorrel, which is basically it's a hibiscus tea, and you add spices and things to it. And that's another popular drink in Trinidad, but it is also good for high blood pressure.
Oh,
So
wow.
the properties in the hibiscus are also good for high blood pressure. And then I add herbs and spices such as cinnamon and nutmeg and things that have other properties that kind of work together with the CBD to again enhance a healthy practice.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you got all that, Ro. She's in line with you with the monk fruit and the sorrow and all that stuff in the
Oh, look,
Caribbean.
I love Trinities. I love it. Hey, look, I get in the sorrel sometime, and thing, it's healthy, go to the line and do a little whining, make sure I'm energized,
Right.
so I have a sorrel and thing, make sure I stay vital,
Right,
don't want to miss no opportunity,
Exactly.
No, I love Trinity. So I'm really with you on
right?
that. I'm with you on that.
I just got back. I came back quite inspired. I just got back from Trinity about a month ago. So
there you go.
I had to go get some recipes, brand new, and came back with the fresh herbs and all of that stuff. So
some doubles and some more sauce.
I love you some doubles.
The Callaloo and tin,
yes, the Callaloo and tin. Yes. You know what's up.
I know. I'm with you. Sorrel, keep the body good.
Keep the body good.
You know they call me healthy man.
They call you the man.
The healthy man. That's a true story, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay.
We told you we have fun on this show. So and Ro is quite familiar, as he's just shown you with his Caribbean folks, So,
but to get off the humor and silliness, but what you said thus far is so important. On the last show, I mentioned the principle I like to refer to as Back to the Future, and not to get too deep into it. But when that film came out, I always wondered that was sounded kind of oxymoronic. But as I got older, I realized on a deeper level what that really means. And interestingly enough, a lot of these writers for these films sneak messages in, but if you take it as a film, you'll miss it. But a lot of times you rewatch a movie, you'll get a lot of messages someone's trying to sneak you. But, everything you mentioned, from the sorrel to the nutmeg and natural ways to deal with inflammation, the diabetes, the monk fruit and everything, we need to go back to the traditions of the past and our traditional ways of dealing with things so we can have a viable future. I mean, these little hard tablets ain't working for nobody. So it's really exciting to hear you talk about what you're doing and your practical application of your culture in helping yourself and the customers and people you're dealing with. I support that wholeheartedly,
Well, thank you. And it's funny when you say Back to the Future, the phrase that always comes to mind for me is Sankofa. Are you familiar with the phrase Sankofa?
I am.
Right. So there you go. That's the same thing.
So that was Back to the Future before Back to the Future.
Exactly. That was the original Back to the Future. Sankofa.
We ain't gonna get into that.
we ain't gonna get into all that, but look, you're familiar, so
I am, and it's very important. There's no future without a past. And a lot of times in our modern day society, we get so caught up with surging forward. Moving forward with new technology, just new Look, we're not reinventing the wheel; we're actually destroying it. So
exactly,
the future is actually the past with greater care given to it. There's me and Loris were talking on a previous episode about the many applications of hemp, and there's no reason you can't take that into the 21st, 22nd, 23rd century and have technology and a lifestyle that makes life easier and more convenient and safer without the destruction of the environment,
I agree.
Oh, yeah. With regards to hemp, we should have been using hemp for plastics and bricks and all the cement, all the things you can make with it. I mean, it's just crazy. But it just shows that people have gone out of their way to suppress hemp and suppress cannabis, and because they know that A, it actually works, B, it's good for you, and we could avoid all these problems that are being caused because of greedy people and money.
Well, from what I understand, in the beginning of America, I thought hemp was one of the products that they developed.
It was.
Okay.
It was America, and even in South Africa, when the Dutch went down there and colonized South Africa, all they were making their clothes out of hemp, and they were getting the hemp locally, and
Mhm.
they used that
Okay.
to make ropes and all kinds of things. And of course, we know what they used the ropes for, but
All
they
right.
were
Right. Right.
they
Right.
were but they were it was good enough. It was good enough to do the job. So they were like, okay,
Right.
this hemp is useful, But then again, when the British came in, because it wasn't just the Dutch down there, it was the British, and eventually they were like, hey, this is going to cut into our petrodollars. We need to suppress this plant, and it was a global effort to suppress this plant, because Africa has 54 countries, and most of them, medical and recreational, fully illegal.
Mhm.
And it's crazy when you think of all the money they're missing, all the health benefits they're missing, and all the things they could have been using hemp for. Like I said, for construction, for making clothes, rope, all this stuff. So
For
it's crazy.
everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I feel like they basically the colonizers. I feel like they basically kind of handicap the islands because again, this stuff grows obviously like a weed, in the islands, and that could be a very big export. But because people have been brainwashed
Hmm.
over, against the benefits, they are literally like crippling themselves in the economy. So.
It's funny you mentioned that, 'cause I saw a documentary on the weekend about Jamaica and or cannabis in Jamaica, and how
Mhm.
in the 80s the U.S. actually sent warships to block Jamaica from exporting cannabis, and then they put people on the ground to basically pay and coerce the officials to say, hey, this is the devil's lettuce, y'all
Mhm.
can't sell this thing, and it was all a ploy to again suppress them from getting the wealth that they would have got,
Mhm.
because they actually
Yep.
wanted to legalize it back then.
Mhm.
Because, like you said, it
And they
grows
should
like a
have.
yeah, they should have. But just think of how that would have transformed Jamaica economically.
Exactly. I know. That's what I'm saying. And it's unfortunate that they, were influenced because not only did they bribe the officials, of course, that concept kind of trickled down to the people, I guess, that ran the government or whatever. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
don't, because, I talk to, like, I have, Jamaican friends that are Christians and don't believe in weed and all this other stuff. But I'm like, really, if it's a business, it's a legitimate business. So it has nothing to do with morality. And since if you believe in God and you believe in nature, like he put it there.
Hmm.
So I
And
don't understand why.
it's medicine. It
Exactly.
helps people. I,
Mhm.
I'm putting my hand up right now. It helped me. That's how I got. That's how I got into it. You know.
Yeah, but you're bad for business. And that's what it
Well.
comes down to. I mean, look at everything you're discussing. It really comes down to who is in control of a crop or resource at the time to exploit it and make the most profit. Hemp was a big deal until the power structure changed and somebody didn't have access to it and wanted to bring in a new cash crop to make new money. I mean, why is soy such a big deal now when it wasn't traditionally in this country? Because someone came into power and had access to Chinese soybeans and brought that over here and made that a cash crop, and now it's in everything. I mean, I think to my childhood when they told us about the meat and potatoes diet. If you didn't eat meat and potatoes, you couldn't be a real man. And in breaking out of the matrix, I come to realize because all they had to sell me was meat and potatoes, and they weren't going to reference a mango or camu. So a lot of times, and that's why I really love what you're doing, because we got to break out of this myopic view of reality and out of this box we've been given to live in.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that's being recommended to us daily, as our staple foods and our staple understanding of health and a lifestyle, it's what they have to sell us at the moment. It's not even American. Right. It's what they can profit from at that moment, and what they need you to participate in. And once again, the steak and potatoes diet, because nothing with a full nutritional profile grows in any continent of the United States, because they exploited the soil back in the 1890s and early 1900s, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture admitted that in the early 1920s, that the nutritional profile of our soil was completely blown. So anything you grow here is not going to have a full micronutritional profile. And that doesn't stop them from making recommendations, So
right.
I'm just making that point because, a lot of people are going to hear this and hear some of the things you're discussing and might not be completely comfortable or have any frame of reference on that. But please give these things a chance because they're way more viable to bringing a healthy, bringing health to your body than what you've been told to do, which is tied to someone's P&L.
Pockets. Yep. Mm-hmm. So
well,
why do you...
Actually, I had a question for you. Maybe if you'd like to give me your opinion on this. When you talk about what they recommend to us, so even when it comes to cannabis, if you notice lately, it's a lot of stuff that's been taking over the whole concentrates, right? Concentrates and vapes and all of that. But now all of this controversy has come out where before it was like additives in the vapes and now it's the whole vape lung disease thing or whatever. Whereas for me, people used to laugh at me because I'm like, I don't really get into the whole oils thing. I don't get in unless I know that it's directly, like if I knew the farmer, right? And I know the source of what's in the oil. But I've always done the dry herb, like literally flour, right? But people are like, oh, that's old school. You need to do the vape. So now that the conversation is like shifted to the whole it being contaminated, like what do you think about that? Because I feel like the oil has been pushed for the last couple of years. Like people are moving away from flour and getting more into concentrate. So do you feel like that's something that's just being pushed because of availability?
I think it is. Go ahead, Ro.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
The fact that you say you could vape a leaf, I don't think people even know that, right? We have a tendency. This society overcomplicates everything. But any con artist, any legit con artist, listen to that. Any real con artist is going to make a situation so complicated, and then put you in a position above them to where you actually think the way through this complicated situation is to kind of exploit the con artist, and he flips the game on you, makes his money. All I'm saying is if you look at a lot of situations in this country, things have been made overly complicated. And you just pointed that out with you being able to use a flower and a vaporizer and get the desired result. And they're pushing these oils, right? And then all of a sudden, vaping comes out of nowhere and it's completely okay. And now all of a sudden, within the past 2 weeks, everyone's dying from this this lung disease. Well, last episode we discussed was it? I don't know if it was last episode. One of them.
It was last episode. Yeah.
The warfare of business. And when I look at what's happening with this whole get rid of the flavored vapes and oil thing and everything like that, I see a corporate takeover and warfare. There's not enough people dying from these flavored vaporizers to get the president and USDA to start saying, we got to ban this tomorrow. What it is too many common folks making too much money with these little vape shops that have popped up all over the place. And the big corporations, and I'm not going to name none, has said, wait a minute, we're about to lose this thing. Let's rein it back in and demonize what they're doing. Shut it down for now until we can come up with something that's competitive and then make a governmental certification that makes ours okay to fill that gap again. So no one is dying and no one is, it ain't no worse than a cigarette or anything else. Not that that's good, but it's not this end of the world situation. And they always invoke children in it to get your heartstrings tugged, like, the kids can get easy access to, yada, yada, yada. No, what it really is some corporations like, wait a minute, I'm left out and I can't get a piece of this because the culture around this thing, and we speak a lot about culture on this show and integrity, the culture of your local vape shop is bigger than my corporation, and I'll never get these people back unless I get someone to pull a big string and shut this down until I can redefine the paradigm and then put a government stamp on my flavored vape that's going to be safe for you. So that's my appraisal of the situation.
Okay. I agree. I definitely agree.
Nothing on the news is real. I think in 1984 in a Senate hearing, the CIA admitted, we're going to be in trouble, Lois. The CIA admitted that they have
put crack in the neighborhoods.
No. Well, yeah, Gary Webb, Dark Alliance, read that book. But no, they said they admitted that they had assets and officers, at least one, in every major news company in the country. They said that like in the early 80s. So what you think? What do you think they have now?
Yeah.
So nothing on the news is real.
Yeah.
Other than your local traffic report and your weather. So, whenever anything comes across the news and it gets a lot of attention, the first two things I do is say, well, that ain't real. And the second thing I do is look in the opposite direction and see what they don't want me to notice that is real. So that's my take on that. It's a con.
To add to that,
I agree.
With so many people jumping into this now, because I mean, you're seeing CBD sold at CVS, gas stations, which means that they're mass producing it. And whenever they're mass producing something, the quality goes down. And the sourcing is, to me, that's because I was at a dispensary actually today, and we were talking about the sourcing, where are you guys getting the cannabis from? And again, when you have the corporate goons, which is what I'm going to call them because that's what they are, come in, them it's about mass production. It's like, how can we make this like McDonald's? And we've seen what they've done to food. If you look at McDonald's or you look at these types of, fast food chains, they're doing the same thing with cannabis. So now you're seeing these vapes that have all these chemicals and all these additives and at the end of the day, if you're adding stuff to something that's already natural and already doing its job on its own, and you adding all this stuff to it, then it's no longer, to me, it's no longer cannabis. You're making something else.
Exactly.
In Peru, you can actually buy on the street coca leaves that don't turn you into a cokehead. Like people actually will take the leaf and stick it under their tongue because it hasn't gone through the process that they, put it through to sell it as cocaine here, where they put gasoline in there, they put all kinds of, if you watch how they make cocaine, you just be like, no wonder people are, turning into crackheads and all that stuff. And so again, the sourcing, is what is also behind. It's also on the other side with what Rose said, but again on a organic level, it's people are artificially enhancing these. The cannabis and making it into a terrible product that's harming people now instead of doing what it was supposed to do, which was heal and help people. So.
And that's why, again, I like to do, for me, when I do my drinks, I do small batches. Everything's organic. As a matter of fact, I'm boiling a batch now. Like I literally boil the pineapple, the ginger, the fresh turmeric, and I source my CBD, like I said, from Extreme Turfs, which I know he has lab tested stuff. He gets directly from the hemp farmer, all that stuff. So that's why I chose his company. And first of all, I wanted to work with a person of color, but his product is quality product. And I wanted to be sure that when I put my brand on something, that it came from a quality source. I want to know the source from beginning to end because I see the mass production going on. And I have friends that have purchased, CBD from the gas station or whatever. And by the way, I also make topical products, which I started doing because when I went to go purchase, it wasn't strong enough. Like I have chronic pain, so I need a really high dose of pure CBD. And I was like, when I found out the prices they were charging for like the little patch, I bought like a Mary's medicinal patch or whatever, and it was expensive. But it didn't do anything for me. But I made my own topical oil with pure CBD, and that was perfect. And I've been using that oil for a couple of months. So I feel like as time goes on with the mass production, people are going to be gouging people that really need it for medical purposes because the focus is going to shift to more recreational, like you said, mass production. People are all about the bottom line. But because I am my own patient, I was like, okay, I need to take control of this and know that I'm putting out a quality product that actually works and it's not going to hit you in the head with the money because a lot of the people that need it are on fixed income. There's a lot of seniors that are in chronic pain and they need, these CBD products, hemp products and whatnot. But I feel like at the dispensary, it's pretty expensive. So,
And dispensaries like Fort Knox, Roe was talking about, the subterfuge and people talking about, for the children. You can't just walk into a dispensary. It's like it's Fort Knox.
Not at all.
I saw,
right.
I saw that today when I went to one, and they had bulletproof glass, and once you got past that, Then it was like, oh, it looks like a spa almost, like a high-end spa, but you just can't walk in,
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I don't even know why they act like you can. And as a matter of fact, you can barely open the packages of the stuff that they have. Because I was complaining about that.
Package, the childproof package.
I'm like, the childproof. I'm like, I'm going to need y'all to chill with the childproof because a lot of us have arthritis and I can't get into my medicine when I buy it. It pissed me off. So that is something that I was, I was checking out. I'm like, come on now. The kids are not going after this. Like, can we just ease up on the packaging a little bit? So,
that's crazy.
And again, I know I'm not the only one. So
no, I actually heard from somebody she was actually one of the speakers at Cannapeneur, the Asian lady. I've forgotten her name, and she was talking about these packages. Cause she was saying how it's ridiculous. You can't open the package, and she was saying how a lot of people, especially like you just said, seniors or people with arthritis, or he said even regular folks. She said she had a hard time opening the package. Like literally, you want to get to your stuff, and you got to be Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible to figure out how to open the package.
Man, yeah, that pisses me off to know it. I know I sent a couple of nasty emails to a couple of dispensaries when I first, because I was so upset that I got home and I'm in pain. I'm trying to open the thing. I couldn't even figure out how to open the package. I was like, come on now. That makes no sense after I spent all this money.
Yeah. So let me ask you about, like, with the Maryland Medical Cannabis Commission and getting a medical card. Well, you have one, so talk to us a little bit about the process. Talk about how that works.
Well, I actually went to I follow this group on Facebook, and they had a special. I drove out to, I believe it was Frederick, and it was a particular dispensary that was connected to a doctor's office, and they had a special for veterans. I think it was like $22. And I'm a veteran, so $22. I went in, I was in the Army for about 6 years or so. But anyway, I went and got my certification through the doctor there. I do have, like I said, I have autoimmune disease. I also have glaucoma. So I pretty much have like 4 things that they give medical cards for. So I was, there was no issue with that. And when I first got it a couple of years ago, it was like, almost $200, if not $200. So I jumped on that 22 when it was time to renew. And I have to say, although I think it's expensive, it was expensive. I guess the prices are going down now, but it is, it's very convenient, and I'm spoiled now because now I can go into any dispensary and, I pretty much know what I want. I'm a sativa person, or I need a high CBD strain. I can go and, pick and choose or whatever. And that I like. I don't have to go on the street anymore or, do any kind of illicit things to get my medicine. But, that part I definitely like. But again, like I said, I feel like, a lot of times the prices are ridiculous. So I could see why people might not kind of go through that, because if you're on a fixed income and you spend $150 to get you, get a card, then that might be your budget for your actual medicine. So then you got to wait till the next month.
Speaking of that, because on the website, this is on the MMCC Maryland.gov site, it says there's no fee to apply. So the $200 you're talking about, is that the certification fee or is that the application fee?
That was the fee. It costs money to get your card.
Because it says, I'm looking at it right now. It says no fee to apply, and once registration is approved, it's valid for 2 years. But they say if you don't actually go to the cannabis dispensary within 120 days of being issued a certificate, then it expires and you have to basically, or certification, sorry, you got to reapply again. So that's why when I'm hearing you talk about these high fees, I'm just like, okay, well, where is the fee?
Well, let me see. It says here, the $50, the renewal option is $50 to renew. And yeah.
So is it a fee through the dispensary, or is this if you apply?
No, it's through MMCC. You have to send them your money. It says right here, it says effective January 1st, 2019, MMCC requires a non-refundable $50 fee when a patient application is submitted. And also there are, there's a company called Grassroots Healing, and they do like registration workshops.
Mm-hmm.
So they charge you. You pay the $50 to MMCC, and then I guess you also pay the doctor. So they kind of do like a one-stop shopping thing, and that's the type of situation that I went to the first time,
mm-hmm.
where it was held at a dispensary, and the doctor that's affiliated with the dispensary wrote the recommendation, and I sent my money to MMCC to register, and that was it. But there is a fee associated. Now, it might not be, like I said, when I started, it was ridiculous. And I think it was a combination fee. Like I said, I think I paid the doctor as well as MMCC, but it was all in one lump sum.
Mm-hmm.
But now, this is now $50, so it's going down.
What do you think about that, Ro?
Well, it's interesting. They always play games with these fees, I guess, as initially to see how serious are people about getting into it, and also to kind of slow this is my perception of it, to slow down the tide of people that are going to rush to this thing until they're prepared to handle it with their infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
So they charge an arm and a leg, kind of slow you down because they're not ready to be overwhelmed with the response of people who want to get that card, So, but I mean, if the prices are coming down, to me, that's a good sign. Yeah. I mean, the bureaucracies are always slow to respond to the needs of people, no matter where they are. If they can respond at all, they always do so very slowly. And I don't think their response to cannabis is any different. But I think as time goes on, the whole process will get a lot easier once they're in place to deal with it, and then it'll be as miserable as the Motor Vehicles Administration.
Right.
So I've seen that some dispensaries on the MMCC has a list of people that basically you can apply through, and some of them have dispensaries on the list. So when you did yours, did you go directly to the MMCC or did you go through a dispensary?
No, I went through a dispensary.
Okay.
I went through the dispensary that was having the registration thing that day.
Oh, so you have to go to one of their registration events, and then
it made it easier. That's what I did. I mean, I registered beforehand because you have to have, like, your name has to be on the registry or whatever before you can even go, and get your card. So you do that online, and I got all that paperwork taken care of, and then I went to the registration event that they happened to have at that dispensary because I wanted the one-stop shop. I wanted to get go get the doctor's recommendation and then go right next door and get my medicine and roll out. So that was pretty much what I did. And I find that to be the easiest method because sometimes, like even taking a picture and all of that to get your card, it's a complicated process, right? I guess if you don't have your picture with the right background and all of that, they reject it. So when you go to these events, it's people that know exactly what MMCC is looking for. They help you out, and you like I said, one-stop shopping.
Mm-hmm. And these cards are not like you can't go to another cannabis legal state with this card. It's only good for Maryland, right?
It is only good for Maryland, but a lot of states have reciprocity. So, for instance, I go to D.C. with my card. I use my card in D.C.
Okay.
D.C. has reciprocity.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And I believe California is no longer an issue, but I'm sure like whatever state has reciprocity, if you have a card from Maryland, then they will accept it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's convenient. That's good.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
That's good.
And it doesn't count against your limit either. So, like, you have limits in Maryland, like a 30-day limit. So for me, I think it's like 85 grams or something. And then THC, they count that separately. So, like, flour is considered one thing, and then any kind of like concentrates, whether it be cartridges or oil or whatever it is, infused, shatter, things like that, that's considered a different THC. So that's a different limit that you have to buy per month. So And your doctor can set whatever limit you need for whatever your ailment is.
So with your doctors, let's say your actual physician or it is not into cannabis, and he starts talking about, oh, I don't want to get my license revoked, and all the stuff that some of them say. So what are your options in terms of going somewhere else and getting somebody else who doesn't know you, who's a doctor, to get you the card?
Oh, your options are very, very well open. I'm gonna keep it real. It's you can go to any doctor that says that they give cannabis certifications, medical cannabis certifications. They will certify you if you pay them the money. As long as you have one of the the ailments, trust me, you'll get your card. There are quite a few ailments that qualify. Anxiety. Everybody has anxiety or depression. So basically, if the doctor is giving recommendations, he down with the program. So you'll get your card. Like, you don't have to go. I don't know anybody that's actually going to their actual doctor, because most people are still, they still trying to be a little undercover. They still don't necessarily want one hand to know what the other hand is doing. So they don't go to their regular doctors. I'm just keeping it 100 on this.
That's what we're about. In fact, I'm going to ask you for our listeners. You said anxiety was one of the ailments. What are the key ailments that you must possess to help speed this process along?
There is a very long list, but I can tell you off the break. So chronic pain, right? So you got arthritis, any kind of autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia. What is it? Man, I don't even know. Now I'm thinking that. Well, if you're in hospice care, you can get your card like today. So cancer, AIDS, anything that causes nausea. So like IBS. And like I said, anxiety, clinical depression, things like that. Like there's a lot of ailments. But like I said, for me, like if you have glaucoma off the bat, like glaucoma is one of the things that cannabis was prescribed for in the first place, because it lowers your eye pressure, right? So that was one of the original things. Glaucoma and epilepsy are two things that if you have that, you automatically will get your card. But the other things, like I think there's something called wasting syndrome.
I've heard of that.
There are a lot. Yeah, there are a lot. There are a lot. And it doesn't have to be like, it's not normal stuff. Because I've met a lot of people that have all these like crazy rare neurological diseases, and I'm like, wow. So, and they get prescribed cannabis. Even I believe sickle cell just got put on the list because of the pain involved with sickle cell. So I believe that was added. But yeah, there are quite a few. There are quite a few. You probably don't. You probably don't even have to make anything up. I'm sure that
that leads me to my next question. So if you show up there saying I have wasting disease or whatever it is, how do they verify that that's the case?
Okay, well, you will need some medical records. You will need to prove that.
Okay.
So yeah, you definitely, okay, so that's where the doctor would be like, I ain't trying to lose my license. You need to show me something. Or, if you're claiming something that's just as grave as that, you should have records to back it up. If you're claiming something like, depression or anxiety, that particular doctor, he will ask you questions and then kind of determine, what you need or whatever. Something like a real, like cancer. So like you should have records to kind of back you up. So.
That's crazy. So to flip subjects for a second, what are some of the challenges business-wise that you've experienced trying to grow your business in this industry with so many people coming in?
Well, I would have to say the marketing aspect, the legality, because so even on social media, you can kind of get the impression that everything is all good because you see people putting stuff on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, selling their products. But the reality is you start talking to these people and they're like, oh no, Facebook shut me down or Instagram shut me down, because even myself, like I actually had to appeal to Instagram because they wouldn't let me boost. I have a flyer that I put up with my menu, and I was trying to, boost it, pay for an ad. And they came back and said, no, we can't do that because you're selling something illegal. And then I was like, wait a minute, CBD is supposed to be legal all across the United States or the world. So why am I being shut down? So when I challenged them, they came back and said, oh, no, we were wrong. You can put this ad out. But that's what I've been running into. So things like that, like you can put up a whole flyer and everything. You'll think that it's going to, advertise your business. And then you come to find out that the flyer hasn't been dispersed because, of what you're selling. And then when it comes to payment processing, like, for instance, I set up my stuff with QuickBooks a couple of years ago when I started this. And I was going along fine for about a couple of months. Then I got an email saying QuickBooks shut me down because I was selling CBD. Now, although CBD is considered legal, since it's still related to marijuana and it's not federally legal, meaning like the marijuana is not federally legal, because these laws are so fuzzy, I guess, to the people that are in charge. They're not fuzzy to me, but apparently nobody wants to touch the payment processing thing. So even dispensaries get shut down. Like you'll go to the dispensary and they'll be like, oh, we can't take cards today. You got to pay cash because nobody wants to process the money. So that has been, to me, the biggest problem, not being able to really push like you want to. I mean, you could start doing it, and there are people that do it, but like I said, once you kind of start talking to them and peeling off the layers, you find out, no, that's just a facade, because in the background, they're getting harassed by, the powers that be. So I would have to say, and that's why a lot of times people, you do these events and you kind of operate under the radar, right? Because, and then too with the regulations, right? Like you said, they're trying to come up now with all these regulations. So for me, who does food stuff, now that everybody's trying to, pump CBD and the people getting sick or whatever, they shut it down in New York, stuff like that. Like I kind of watch these things to see where these regulations are going, but it doesn't look, it looks like they're trying to, like squash the smaller businesses like myself by putting these crazy regulations out. They haven't even come up with the regulations regarding food and CBD yet. I'm waiting to see how that plays out. Yeah. But right now, like I said, it's kind of like you're waiting. It's coming because you see, like you said, they're selling stuff at CVS and all these other places. So at some point, the FDA is going to come out and be like, okay, you have to have X, Y, and Z to be considered a legitimate CBD product. So, and I guess that is one of the issues that you're kind of waiting. There is no there's no real regulation right now. But once it comes into place, then then we're going to have to reassess this one more time to kind of see, just kind of see how what they came up with, like how ridiculous this is going to be. Because right now, I know people that make like CBD hot sauce and stuff like that, and I can't see where it's being regulated, and they're able to sell it, but maybe not like ship it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could sell it locally, but you can't ship it.
Yeah. Well, the states, depending on, just like Maryland and DC, you can get you can get your cannabis fix all you want. You can't do that in Virginia, and that's right next door.
Right.
So it's not fully legal, and but I also think there's a racist element to the restrictions, like you said, because just like even with the fees, like to get a dispensary, just the application fees are in the $100,000 range. That doesn't guarantee you anything.
Oh yeah.
So
exactly.
With the advertising, though, Facebook bought Instagram, so they've applied the same rules that they had in Facebook. Like you said, like when you try to put an ad, I tried to create a page and that had the word cannabis in it, and they were like, nope, that's not, so there is still a lot of roadblocks when it comes to advertising in the cannabis industry. But on the other hand, what is great is that it's allowed a lot of niche publications to pop up. And one of the good things is about that is everybody who reads that publication is into cannabis. versus
Exactly.
trying to be on the everybody bandwagon type of system. And
Mhm.
then also too using things like sales funnels where you basically put a lead capture and then you get people to come to your website and maybe you give them like in your case, maybe you give them a recipe for to make a dish that has CBD or something that you want to share, and then in
Right.
exchange for that they give you their email address and their name, and then now you can capture that and then remarket to those people, and they eventually they become your customers. You're
Right.
able to build up your customer list that you can market to, that Facebook doesn't have anything to do with, or Instagram doesn't have anything to do with, and
Right.
now you've captured those people. So there's roadblocks, but there's also a lot of opportunities, like I said, and it's allowed for a lot
Yeah.
of focused opportunities where you can specifically go after the people that are interested in what you have.
Right. That's what I'm working on next. So
Yeah.
when I get my landing page is one thing, but I got to get the whole site up. So.
Yeah, because what also people need to work on is protecting their sites. Because once you start doing lead generation and you start doing SEO, you may attract the people that you want, but you also attract the hackers. And these people
Mhm.
will come and they'll hack your site, and Google will blacklist you. So having like your site connected to Google Search Console is one good example, because even us, where we in the industry and we have IT people on staff, and we got hacked by some guy who stuck his articles about book bags and shoes, and he imposed them on our contact page, and we didn't see it. But luckily, we're
Mhm.
tied into Google Search Console, and they were like, "Hey, your site's been hacked." And then they listed all the articles that this guy had put, somewhere in around like 10 articles. But in the
Mm.
meantime, every day that we didn't do anything, Google was killing all our SEO. We dropped from page 1 to page 5. And
Wow.
then
Okay.
then they blacklisted our Google listing. We had to petition for 4 weeks to get that back. Then we had
Hmm.
to get one of our tech people to go in there on the server side, because this guy actually embedded this malware on the server side. Got that removed, had some patches and security upgrades, and we had firewalls and all that stuff on the website, so it wasn't like we were slacking on the security. But
Mhm.
the Google Search Console, having that connected to the site, really saved us because they picked it up first.
Wow.
So having Google Search Console, I think for anybody that has a site is essential. Having Google Analytics as well, so that way when you're doing your own grassroots marketing, or you're going even to when you go to like events like Canada Gather and Spark and all these things, when you're connecting with people, you can tell from the analytics who came from where. 'Cause it can tell you exactly what
Mhm.
city they came from based on their IP address. So like you really have to dig into the analytics and the attention data, and
Mhm.
use that to grow your and maintain your business. Um, and then even online reputation management. 72% of people say reading a good customer review raises their trust in the business.
Mhm.
So it's getting interesting. On average, it takes two to six reviews to get 56% of prospects to gain enough confidence in using your business. So having those online reviews that are positive and help to really boost sales, because like for me, if I go on Amazon, I'm about to buy a product, or I'm looking at a product, first thing I read is the reviews.
Yep.
If I
Yep.
read 3 reviews that I don't like, I'm not buying it.
Right. Right.
So
Mhm.
the same thing applies to the cannabis business, because now with so many people getting into it from a branding
Mhm.
perspective, it's about differentiation. So if everybody's
Right.
selling CBD, it's at the gas station, it's at CVS. Okay,
Mhm.
why am I going to buy yours? So
Right.
there has
Right.
there has to be a plan for creating brand differentiation, and separating yourself and building a culture around your brand. You got to think like Apple and Supreme, and BMW, and all these
Mhm.
people who have these rabid followers.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Ro?
I agree.
You kind of quiet over there.
No, I was taking notes. I was learning so much. Yeah, but it to me, this is where your story comes into it. I think you
Yes.
can battle all of these barriers to entry. I think you can battle a lot of the bureaucracy and red tape with your story that people can identify with. I don't think people realize this. Well, I know they don't actually, as I am about to say it. But when you create a product, when you create a business, hell, if you have the garage down the street that does brakes and oil changes, the story that you're telling with your logo, the colors you choose to use, the font that your name is in, that's what helps people choose you over the next guy.
Right.
And as you tell that story, you're giving a part of yourself to your potential customers and your customers. And I don't think people realize that you're actually likable, and what you're trying to do is likable. And if you view it that way and approach it that way, you can get a lot of success and gain a lot of traction despite what the powers that be are doing. Because what we're talking about is you can quantify everything and you can document all the numbers and everything, but you have to get back to the human touch, because you're a human being that's trying to sell to another human being who's trying to buy. And I think that's something that people overlook. You have to give a piece of you.
Yeah.
You have to give a piece of you. It doesn't have to be a big piece. It can be a piece it can be a piece that you can manage if you're a private person. It can be a piece you can manage. But you have to give a piece of your story and a piece of you to your customer. And that will help you gain traction, and that will bring that brand loyalty and that repeat business. Because that's really what you need. You need that repeat business. It's that story. It's that part of you that people can resonate with. Because people will. There are people out there with low self-esteem, don't think much of themselves, but you don't know how people see you, or if you knew how to present a part of yourself to them, how they ride for you.
Mm-hmm. And also, that's a great segue into what I want to talk about next with Facebook and Instagram, particularly killing with their algorithms, killing organic reach. Like I remember when Facebook first came out, you posted something, everybody saw it. And then they kept cutting it down. Then all of a sudden they start seeing, hey, boost the posts, and it's like, okay, so you charge me to get all these people, and now you want to charge me to show the people that I spent all this money to get, that are on my page. I'm not even talking about advertising to new people. The people that are actually on my page, only 5% of them are actually seeing what I'm doing. So basically, if you had 1 million people, only 5% of the 1 million people on your page are seeing your stuff unless you boost it. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And they've gone and done the same thing on Instagram, because Instagram, I think it's down to less than 15%. And again, Instagram used to have 100% organic reach. The only one that I think that still has, actually two that still have organic reach 100% is Pinterest and Tumblr. But with Facebook and Instagram, with what Ro was just saying, it's forced people now to become more personable, because the marketers got in there and they were just pushing stuff. And now Facebook is trying to go back to its original idea, which was for people to communicate. Because now if you actually just comment on posts, you actually can build up your audience really quick, because most of the time the person that's posting thinks he or she is a nobody, and they're happy to get a response, like an actual, more than, because most people might click the heart or the like button or whatever, but when they actually get a written response, that makes them just feel so good, because they're like, oh wow, somebody actually took the time to write something. And then on the flip side for you, who, if people are coming to your Instagram page or your Facebook page and somebody actually takes the time to comment, reply to the comment. That makes people feel good. It's like, okay, I wrote something, and this person who has the page actually took the time to read it and then took the time to reply to me and treat me like a human being and treat me like an actual person. Those things are now becoming the currency, in this algorithm. I don't want to say starved world, because it's not starved. They're forcing us, this algorithm forced world. They're forcing this stuff on us, because as far as advertising goes, it's like as little as 9% of digital advertising gets looked at by an actual person today, because most of us have taught ourselves to block out ads. When I'm watching TV and an ad comes on, I hit mute.
Right.
You
I
know,
know I do.
if I'm
Mhm.
looking at a page or I'm online or something, usually the ads are on the far right. I don't even see them. I'm not even looking there.
Right.
You know, and so now you have to fight so much harder just to capture people's undivided attention. You know, but if you're a business, people love deals because you always see those deals. People, if you look at deals that are popping up on Facebook and that are good, you see the shares are through the roof because they're
Mhm.
sharing it with any and everybody. You know, so people
Right.
love deals. You can use that to engage past clients. You can use that to attract new ones, and you can use that to build, loyalty with your existing audience. And I think with Facebook, people shouldn't really focus on the big numbers anymore. If you have
Mhm.
100 people that you actually talk to,
Mhm.
you know, you've actually spoken to each one. That's way better than 10,000 people where you've spoken to like one or two.
Right.
Because the connection with the 100 people, imagine if those 100 people all bought from you. You know, and
Mhm.
somebody's like, "Oh, I got 1,000 people. I got 10,000 people." Yeah, but 10,000 people are not buying from you.
Right.
My little 100 people here buy from me. That is
Mhm.
way more valuable than the 10,000 or the 50,000 people. So I think people need to, reevaluate their goals in terms of growth and look back at engagement. It's like, okay, do I actually have a relationship? Have I connected with these people? You know, even if it's 10
Right.
people, and those 10 people buy from you, that's worth way more than 100 people that don't do it, that don't do jack, that don't click, don't comment, just sit there, don't say anything. You know,
True.
and the way to get attention today isn't to scream more and more and louder. Instead, think carefully about how you can better navigate and create more of a relationship, with people. If you wanted to increase traffic and leads, the formula is simple: publish more content, but publish content that's valuable, that people actually want, that actually impact people's lives. Like my phone around like 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock will actually pop up a message automatically that says, "Hey, traffic is getting heavy in your area. Here's the temperature." And stuff that is actually useful. Okay, if I'm about to hit the road, I can now see what traffic's going to be like before I even get on the road. That's useful. So if you're publishing content, think in terms of like the phone, where it's like, okay, if I'm sharing something, make sure it's something that's useful.
Mhm.
That people will say, hey, this is good information. I could actually use this.
Mhm.
You know. So
Gotcha.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I
Either or.
agree.
Ro was about to say
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah,
That's me.
yeah, I'll go. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll
Mhm.
bite. Yeah, I agree. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I just look at the purchases that I make and who I buy from. Once I find something that works, I stick with it. Um,
Mhm.
we've experienced this thing. If anyone's old enough to remember, that we had a lot of small business shops, my mom and pop shops, hardware store, cobbler, the dry cleaner, all these little stores that served their community and put a personal touch on things, and people rode with them. And then we got hit
Mhm.
with this big box phenomenon, Best Buy, the Target, the Walmart, and then it was all in one. But
Mhm.
it was just this maze, and you just kind of got lost in it. And I think that has just reached its peak where people are just overwhelmed with advertisements, overwhelmed with products, and it's just almost like you're trying to drink some water, but you're trying to drink out of a fire hydrant. It's just too much. And
Right.
I see us returning back to a digital e-commerce version of small businesses that we had, 3 decades
Mhm.
ago,
Mm-hmm.
in which you had a loyalty and a connection with these people, even if they were 5 states away. Their story and their customer service and their product, it's all special and unique, and your connection with that is true and genuine.
Right.
There's no legitimacy in this stuff that's out here. It's just stuff. I mean, it's amazing
Right.
how much stuff on Amazon is counterfeit. It's amazing how much stuff is advertised as something it's not, and when you get it, it's the wrong size. It don't look like the picture. It's
Mhm.
already broken. So people are dying for someone they can trust with the money they're barely making. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I really see the future as being a digital e-commerce version of what we had 3 and 4 and 5 decades ago, these small mom and pop shops. And in order to do that, you need that connection with people and that loyalty and that trust. And just an innovative product that's yours, and they know whenever they purchase from you, they get your best.
Right.
And that's what's missing across the board in everything, almost. People are taking a chance anytime they separate from $1, and 9.5 times out of 10 they're very disappointed. But what option do they have?
Right. Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah, well, I think it's the what I call the Amazon effect, where you have these singular companies that just come and dominate everything. Like Amazon just had this job fair where they were hiring. They had literally 30,000 positions open, for everything from warehouse to $100,000 executives, you name it. Because they've become the platform now. They've put out all these other they've put all these other companies out of business. But like Ro was just saying, it's becoming more and more impersonal. And I think people are longing for that personal touch. And that's an opportunity that small businesses have, especially in this cannabis market, because the corporate hacks are, sinking their teeth. They're trying to come in. But I think, cannabis to me is not corporate. I say this all the time. Cannabis is a culture. And the culture is with the little people that started it, the little people that went to jail for selling something that you all are now going to stroll in and say, hey, well, we sell it too, and we don't have to go to jail. Well, people like us went to jail.
Okay, people like us still in jail.
Yes, people look like us are still in jail. They have records that haven't been expunged, and you just get to stroll in and sell it, and it's not fair. But life is not fair. But at the same time, we have to educate ourselves, and we have to position ourselves, to do better.
But you know what I want to say? We've lost our humanity in the midst of all this technology. The past 15 to 20 years has transformed this society so fast, so drastically, that no one's really even caught up to it. We don't even have rules and etiquette on this stuff. Like, not to put your elbows on the table when you eat dinner, but you got your phone out. Like, we haven't even done that part. Like, hey, don't take your phone out at the dinner table. Wash your hands and don't put your elbows up there, but don't have your phone out. And so it's just been this whirlwind of disconnection and detachment. And so, when you look at the psyche of people, after this past 15, 20 years, they want to be human again. They want that connection, but they're out of practice. They don't know how to do it.
That's true.
Right.
That's
right.
True.
And so there's this anxiety and tension and fear about reestablishing the human connection they so desperately desire. And so my point in illustrating that is it's time to return to humanity, and entrepreneurs and small business owners can do that far better than any corporation can. And I assure you, as you do that and get better at it, people will resonate with you more and trust you more and really swear by your products and be your best advertisement for your product. And so it goes back to what I said about, an e-commerce, digital, small local businesses that serve a specific community, but your specific community could be dispersed throughout 3 continents the way it is now.
Yeah.
So
to your point, I'm experiencing that now. So all the followers that I have are pretty much organic, right? So, and I have a lot of repeat customers. I've been doing this for going on 2 years, and even up to today, a young lady that discovered me just on the internet. Like, I put out on Eventbrite. I had put out when I did my first event. She came through. Because the tagline was like CBD, so she was looking for something to do with CBD. She just referred someone to me now that wants to be like a meal client. So everybody that has actually had my food and my drinks and stuff, word of mouth has been the best promoter.
Because it's genuine.
So because it's genuine. And then what was also funny about the human connection thing, now for me, I was trying to keep the branding separate. So like I said, I have a blog called Wani's World, and I also have the Zima 360. So I was like trying to separate the two. But when I was in Trinidad, I didn't log into my Wani's World. I logged into Zima 360 on IG, and I was putting up posters of my vacation, or putting up pictures rather, and I was surprised at the engagement. Like, I got more engagement with my vacation pictures than I did with the meals. So I was like, oh, wow, people really want to see, you know, what you're kind of doing, and, you know, maybe they're living vicariously through you or whatever. So that I found is a good, like a brand differentiation. Like you said, that whole human connection thing. I think that people are looking for that. You know, the people that have the 10,000 followers and all of that, there's no real human connection. It's a lot of just promo stuff.
Yeah. And we're almost out of time, but to capitalize on what you just said, people need to learn what the platforms are actually for. Like Pinterest, you should not be, people don't want to see your stuff on Pinterest. They want to see your taste. That's why Pinterest curates, because it has it where you can go around and just curate things that you like. So you could show your taste in Caribbean food, or your taste in furniture, or whatever your tastes are. Then because that's a way for them to learn more about you. With the vacation pictures, that was them learning about how you vacation, and that created a more personal connection. So people need to relearn how to use the platforms. And, you know, Facebook too, same thing. YouTube too, because you get people like they're posting the same stuff on all the platforms, and that gives people no incentive to go to the other platform. If I see the same thing on Instagram, I'm going to see on Facebook when I go to your company page. Why would I go to the other one?
Right.
You know, so each one is designed and works a different way, just like Snapchat and TikTok and, you know, all these 1,001 other ones are there. They each work a different way, which means that the content should match how the platform works.
Right.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you, Wani? Share your contact details.
You can get in contact with me at Instagram. I'm at Zima360 Wellness on Instagram. And I'm also on Facebook, same thing, Zima360 Wellness. Twitter, the same thing. Yes, that's pretty much how you can get in contact with me. And, of course, the website is Zima360wellness.com.
And just give them a quick rundown again, because I personally sampled the pineapple, ginger, turmeric, CBD infused drink, and it was awesome. But please just give a recap of all the stuff that they can get from you, because you are a chef.
Okay.
Give us a recap.
So what I do is I do infused meals. Every week I put out a menu, usually on Wednesday, and the food is available for delivery that Saturday and Sunday. I do things like jerk salmon. I do jerk chicken wings. I do different casseroles, soups. I do gumbo. I do various types of foods with a healthy twist. Like I said, I try to do a lot of substitutions, and I do a lot of carb substitutions, and I do a lot of vegan stuff as well. So like sauteed cabbage, things like that. And on the drink side, I do drinks like sorrel, which is a iced hibiscus tea, and I do pineapple ginger turmeric drink, which again has the anti-inflammatory properties. So that is what I do. I do infused, CBD infused, and, you know, other infused drinks and meals.
Awesome. Ro, is there anything you want to plug before we head on out of here?
I want to make a statement.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to thank Chef Wani for coming on and spending time with us. I really enjoyed the interview, and I really enjoyed, you know, what you had to say. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for having me. Definitely.
Thank you.
But I want to say this. I was talking to a young man the other day, and of course he was a rapper. And so I asked him, you know, what do you do? He said, you know, I do this music shit. You know what I'm saying? And I was instantly turned off. I don't. If you really are about what you say, well, how could you even call it shit? Right? And people do that a lot. People do that. They say, yo, I do this music shit or whatever. As soon as you say whatever, you just contradicted the previous statement, you know, or you don't do it. So, you know, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and their job is to minimize you. And if you don't present yourself as best as possible, it'll never happen. Think big, to be big, always present yourself as being completely dedicated to what you claim. Always present yourself as if you are where you want to be. I'm not saying be arrogant. I'm saying always think big. Thoughts become things.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have all this shit out here that we're surrounded by, for better or worse. So, just make it a point to think big. And that enthusiasm that you have about whatever you're into is going to catch like wildfire, and people are going to ride with you, because the sad part about it is the average person ain't doing anything. And when they run into someone who's really standing on what they're talking about and really believes in it, they're going to be your biggest supporter. So that's just all I wanted to say. In my opinion, one of the greatest sins is self-limitation, and I've been guilty of that too many times in my life. So that's all.
All right. Amen. Preach, Brother Rowe. Preach. And on that note, people, 710 Square Talk. Catch us again next week. We will have another great guest, and we'll be discussing the business of cannabis. Peace.